I believe we're live. We're just getting back from executive session. Can I please get a motion to return us into public session?
So moved.
We are returning from executive session where we discuss legal issues and contractual issues. We will need to continue that discussion at the end of the meeting. But since we are here, I want to go ahead and get us started. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and the agenda of this meeting. The Herald, Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could ask everyone please to join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. I see that we've got some cards for public participation, but they are not filled out completely. So Ms. Pettis is going to come over to the podium. If anyone has submitted a card but doesn't have all the information on it, I need you to come up here and fill out the rest in order to be able to be called up for our section when we get to that in just a second.
Rochelle Julian? Rachel, okay.
Our next order of business, item 3.04, approval of the agenda. You've all received a copy of the agenda. Were there any corrections or adjustments?
No, ma'am.
All right, then that will stand as approved. As I mentioned, we do not have any action items to take at this point from executive session. You've all received a copy of the minutes from October the 5th board meeting. Were there any adjustments or corrections to that?
No, ma'am.
All right, then they will stand as approved. All right, and so let me see. I believe if they're all filled out now that we have 5 cards. Yes?
They're not complete yet.
Okay. All right. Given that I believe we're going to have 5 cards once the others are complete, the way our process works is we have a 15-minute time window, so everybody will be divided equally and have 3 minutes. Thank you. And I'm going to go through them in no particular order, just the way they were handed to me. The first up is Chris Timmons. When you come to the podium, if you will please state your name and address. I know we have it on the card. And then your time will begin. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Okay, it's Chris Timmons, 5638 Morriside Drive in Fort Mill.
Thank you.
I have a couple of handouts I'd
Okay.
like to give to everyone.
You can actually do them and we'll pass them down.
I'm here on behalf of the Moms for Liberty. Last week, the members of the board received a letter from our lawyer regarding the current quarantine protocols. We are asking for a revision of those protocols to be more common sense. We're asking that our suggestions be discussed by the members at the next board meeting. The packets I handed out include a copy of the letter as well as a petition signed by parents in support of the recommendation laid out in our legal letter. We see many issues with the current policies: the learning deficits of virtual learning, the emotional and psychological damage from quarantining healthy children. The vaccination and masking discrimination needs to be addressed by the district. We ask that you discuss changing your current policy for these reasons and that you add it officially to the agenda for the next school board meeting. According to your policy, we can formally submit a request to speak and be included in the agenda. And if you would like to discuss this further, we hope you will contact us in the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are in receipt of your legal letter. So, the second card I have is Ellen Abramo.
I'm Ellen Abramo. I live at 4017 Ormond Court. I also have a packet, if I could pass that down. I appreciate the time today. It's a little bit more than what I had planned for. I thought I'd only have a minute. And I have had the pleasure to meet and email with some of you. So I grew up in Florence. I attended Furman University where I got my master's in special education, and I taught school in Anderson 1. Recently, a father in my neighborhood shared that a couple of books are in our zoned high school that are quite graphic in their detailed explanation, content, and even in graphic images. I tend to trust but verify, so I looked into it myself. And please know my intent is not to vilify anyone in Fort Mill School District, but to raise awareness in the hopes of protecting all students. As a former teacher, I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of concerns, but I'm also a mother of 6 with children at every level of school in the district. The titles mentioned, and 3 of them are laid out in there, were Gender Queer, Lawn Boy, a Novel, and then a third, All Boys Aren't Blue. Let me preface by saying that no one's targeting material about gender issues in and of themselves. We know many students are faced with this topic, and we support education on social issues to further understanding and compassion. The issue with these books is their explicit content and images. Upon viewing them, you will find detailed sexual encounters, sometimes between adult and minor, and even graphic comic book-like images of sexual acts. I believe these amount to pornography and rape. We know explicit content and tenets of critical race theory are being taught, even if unbeknownst to the ones teaching it. It is disguised with the rebranded terms that are also in that packet. And I'd appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all in a meeting about how and where this is getting into our schools. I've done a lot of digging. It's my understanding that our contracts with our curriculum and technology aid Discovery Education has expired, and our contract with our library management system, Follett, has expired as well. Honestly, the time for the board to trust that someone is filtering the content coming into our children's libraries and curricula has expired too. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh goodness, I'm going to say this wrong. Steve Giagiakis? Okay.
Good job. You got it right on the first try. So. Steve Jajakis, 3115 Drewski Lane. Today I wanted to talk about truth and lies. I was thinking about this as I was driving over here. The concept of a truth. You know, what's a truth and how can you recognize it? And then how do you compare that to a lie, right? A lie needs convincing. It needs detail. Whereas a truth, it's been said, a truth needs no explanation. It needs no defense, right? You just know it. It's something that you just know. It's innate. It's within you. Similar to, let's say, the right to life. Does anyone need an explanation as to why we have a right to live? No, right? It's within us. I mean, you ask a 1-month-old, you know, well, let's just say like a 1-year-old. If you were to, God forbid, like inflict harm, let's say, on the child's going to react in a negative way, right? Because we all have the innate desire to want to live and to grow and to learn and to fully develop. It's a truth within us. Funny that our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, captures a lot of these rights, the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to pursue happiness as well. That's right. We have a right to pursue happiness. We have a right to be happy. We seem to have forgotten that. So again, going back to truth and lies, right? So a lie needs convincing. It needs details. It needs colorful marketing campaigns. It needs slogans like, we're all in this together. We can do this. Do it for the guy next to you. Save his life. So here's a truth. Here's a truth. 99.99%. It's very simple. It's just you go to the CDC website, right? You take the cases, boom, total cases, and the deaths. Simple. Simple. There is light and transparency and simplicity. There is truth and simplicity. It's when you make things very complex and you add tones and different shades and you do legalese and you do the triple, quadruple negatives to try to prove a point, to try to convince someone that there is a pandemic. That's where the lies creep in. we have to go back to the basics, in my opinion. Simpler is better. I think we've gotten way too complex for our own good, and we're kind of missing the actual truth in the middle of everything that we're doing. 99.99% recovery rate for all minors, ages 0 to 17. That's it. Close the book. We're done. This whole legacy that is COVID, everything, every protocol, every rule, every policy should be discontinued immediately. I mean, it really should. It's not a very outlandish thing to say. We shouldn't have gotten to this point to begin with. I could understand 15 days to slow the spread when we didn't know the severity of the virus, but now that we know, we can take corrective action and do what's right. Thanks.
The next card I have is for Connie Cullen.
Sorry, short. My name is Connie Cullen, 2056 Fuchsia Court. I'm also with Moms of Liberty, and I want to talk to you about the students' effect with the quarantine. Both my kids have been quarantined, and neither one of them had COVID, but it was the home life with the education. I'm not sure who came up with the fishbowl idea. It sounded great, but my elementary school student got to have the honor, or lack of, to do learning through the fishbowl. She could not hear the teachers. She couldn't see what was being written, and she has 2 teachers, none of them actually gave her the work that they were talking about on their chalkboard or the whiteboard into her classwork. So for 5 days, my daughter got to see the classroom. She couldn't hear it, nor could she participate, nor could she even see what was being taught. All the other students that were in person actually learned something. For 5 days, well, technically 7, my daughter learned nothing. The teachers did not do classwork afterwards. If it wasn't for my due diligence, she would have been completely behind. My middle schooler, they don't even offer them fishbowl. For 7 days, my son, if it wasn't for emails for them telling what their classwork was going to be, he wouldn't know. However, he didn't get any toolages. So no teachers, no one taught them how to do the work or the workup. They had to learn it all on their own. It was virtual 101 again from when we originally did COVID, which was horrible. And so if my middle schooler literally got to sit in front of a computer and just read emails that the teacher told them that they needed to learn, had no lesson plan, no actual teacher teaching him how to do his math, his science, the history work, social studies. I can only imagine what a high schooler is having to deal with, because their subjects and their lessons even worse. But for my elementary school, she got nothing. And I have several friends whose kids have had back-to-back quarantine. I have one friend whose son literally missed a month worth of schooling because he had one COVID close contact, back in school 3 days, another close contact, got to come back 5 days, back again. Can you imagine what that young man has lost? And he's not the only one. Fishbowl is not efficient. You guys, if you're going to do it, which I prefer not, in person is much better, have someone actually see what you're expecting our students to do. I mean, we all should test the theory before we put it out there in the land. It's like you don't drive a car unless someone teaches you. I just think you should learn. I mean, they need it better.
Thank you.
You are.
All right, I have one final card, Rochelle Julian. Oh, sorry, Rachel.
A bit shorter. I'd like to thank you guys for having us. I know this year has been challenging with the bickering back and forth. We feel it is necessary just to speak out. So my name is Rachel Julian at 964 Copperstone Lane. And I'm here today to talk about CRT. CRT has been rebranded under so many different things, from Action Civics, anti-racism, culturally responsive in teaching, culturally responsive pedagogy, diversity, equity, inclusion, intersectionality, microaggression, unconscious bias, and social emotional learning. We have stated that this is not in our school. However, we have received funds. South Carolina alone has received $122 billion that are from the ESSER 3 funds. And of that, $5,124,270,000 went to Fort Mill. Now, I know we say we don't do it, but we certainly do. Just because renaming it and rebranding it doesn't mean we do not do it. So classes, and we've adopted STEM from the Discovery education, which is all about, it focuses on journeys to be more diverse, inclusive in their curriculum and choices that are English. So I believe it's there, so I'm not understanding why. We have hired teachers from New York and California to bring this in. It just doesn't make sense. So now we've, sorry. So if we could really get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic instead of indoctrinating our kids with this books such as someone already mentioned, Lawn Boy, or Boy Meets Boy, or The Hate You Give. What is this really teaching us? If we want to learn about race, we learn about who experienced it, who went through it, and not this. It is not your job to teach my child about emotional, social, gender, immigration, nothing like that. So I feel like we parents wouldn't be considered domestic terrorists if the board in education stood up for the people who voted them in. So my final point is that we have 4 board seats coming up, and we, the moms, will absolutely take over to protect our children any way necessary. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, we are on item 7.01, our monthly financial and impact fee update from Ms. Lordo.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Tonight in your packet, we have included the monthly financial report as of September 30th. We are 3 months into the new fiscal year, or the first quarter of the new fiscal year. Total revenues to date were $21,882,792. Total expenditures were $34,636,826. As we would expect, we were in a negative cash flow using the fund balance during this period of $12,744,000. We will expect to once again see that in October. The tax bills, I'll shift and just share that the property tax notices, as we all know, have now been mailed. And if you're a resident of Fort Mill, you should have received your property tax notice on your home or rental property. I have to share, though, for those of you who didn't notice, because I immediately noticed on mine, there's a highlighted yellow bar that says prior year tax, and it says 0. So I was hopeful, as we all were, that the taxpayers could have easily seen that the school district was successful in meeting our goal to reduce taxes, and everyone's tax bill should have gone down. We did reduce our debt millage by 13 mills, from 85 mills to 72 mills. So I was very disappointed that that was not reflected, and shared my disappointment with the county, and was told that that was a printer issue with the vendor and that they could not correct it in time.
But
So,
to be clear,
but to be clear,
the amount went down.
the amount
You didn't
went
have a
down.
year to year to compare.
So you do have to pull out your last year's, or you can go online to the York County website, and you can pull up your prior year and look at your amount and do your quick calculation to see how much we saved you this year in property taxes. So I just have to share that for the benefit of the public watching. Any questions about the monthly financial before I move to impact fees? It was a very routine month as far as the State Department. You'll see some of the state reimbursements for property taxes, such as the Act 388, that does not begin until October. So that's why those are still reflected as 0 year to date, and you will start seeing those monies come in October. Okay, impact fees, total collected to date, we've now rolled over $43 million. We are at $43,147,136. Single family units have reached 1,728. Multifamily 975 for a total of 2,703 units. In October, we had 25 homes that came on and 6 multifamily or apartment units added. I did look at the comparable data for 12 months rolling back. For single family, from October 2020 to October 2021, we collected roughly $7.9 million. The comparable 12-month period in 2019 to 2020, we collected $10 million. So we were about 22% less, which we expected due to some slowdown with the pandemic that happened. It was consistent with multifamily. October 2020 to October 2021, we collected $2,860,000 compared to 12 months from 2019 to 20. We collected $4.6 million. So we were about 38% less on apartments, but apartments are very inconsistent, as we've discussed. Just depends on when a new apartment complex comes on and how quickly their units are built out.
Well, and Leanne, to that point, I know there have been a couple of new projects that I've heard have different parts of the community stirred up a little bit, because there are some new ones that haven't, obviously we're not anywhere near the permitting stage, but just new
Correct.
ideas of places to build. So it's
Correct.
hasn't gone away.
To date, as far as calendar year 2021, we've collected about 53% of what we collected in total in 2020. So we'll continue to watch how we track October, November, December of 2021 for year end. Any questions about impact fees collected? Okay, and then the last point I want to update you on is the financial audit. Our outside audit firm, Green Finney, has finished field work, and we are in the draft stage of the audit report. We have reviewed the draft. Once again, we have worked with one of the graphics classes at Nation Ford, and they have submitted their draft designs. They were exceptional this year. We had a very tough time making a decision, but we have selected a winner that will be used in the final booklet, and you'll be able to see that during the audit presentation in January. Also, as you recall, we try to hold an annual PTO, PTA Booster Club officer training that our outside audit firm, typically one of the partners, David Phillips, handles that for us. We did not hold that last year due to COVID, but we decided to try it again this year, but we're going to do it via Zoom. And that'll be held actually next week on Tuesday evening at 5:30. And I sent out invites to over 70 officers. So I'm actually hoping we get even better participation for those that can just log on from their homes or offices. So I'll give you a report next month on how successful that is, but we're looking forward to being able to provide that training and really just an opportunity to answer any questions they have now that they're a month or two into their operations for supporting our schools. Questions about that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. What's up next? Educator effectiveness report. I'm not sure who's going to do which part. Okay.
All right.
Good evening. I am Renee Sauls. I'm currently serving as the Coordinator of Educator Effectiveness for our elementary schools here in the district, and my colleague.
Good evening. I'm Jen Johnson. I am serving as the Coordinator for Educator Effectiveness for our secondary educators. And we would like to spend some time this evening, Renice and I, helping walk you through what educator effectiveness looks like in Fort Mill. Through our presentation, we hope to demonstrate who we are as a department, how we support our mission, and how this looks for every educator, as well as digging deeper into educator support. As you can see from our mission, we support the growth of educators and our instructional leaders to ensure that all of our students have equitable access to highly effective teachers. In compliance with the State Board of Education's regulation, we also facilitate the implementation of the South Carolina Expanded ADEPT Support and Evaluation System through coaching, support, and training. And how we support our mission, we would like to create a culture of reflective practice rooted in the model of coaching, support, and training. Every educator, no matter their level of experience, engages in growth. Whether that growth is focused on enhancing one's current skills and practice or refining areas of need, a growth mindset empowers all of our educators to be the best that they can be. Here in Fort Mill Schools, we target each educator level with differentiated coaching, support, and training in order to facilitate that growth in our teachers. This specific slide breaks down what our targeted model of coaching, support, and training looks like at the various contract levels. You may notice the top educator level, induction level, has the most support and coaching. These educators are early career educators, typically first-year teachers, possibly second or third-year teachers who would need more development opportunities. As educators advance further into their careers and obtain a professional teaching certificate, their support shifts towards facilitation of their reflective practice in relation to goal setting for student growth, connecting directly to their overall practice. Renice is going to take a few minutes to walk you through breaking down each one of our contract levels and how we support those through evaluation.
So we've got 4 different groups of educators that we work with typically to cover pretty much every certified educator here in our district. So we're going to talk about what that looks like for each level. Our first are our induction teachers, and Jen mentioned that our induction teachers are typically our first-year teachers or early career teachers. There may even be some teachers in that group who have years of experience but have had a break in service of 7 years or more and are coming back to the field. So they are treated as induction teachers. This year we've got 76, so a pretty moderate-sized group. And they, as Jen mentioned, get the most support from our office and from our administrators. Their primary source of support is their certified mentor. So this mentor serves in a capacity of coaching, modeling, supporting. They plan with these educators. They sometimes are a sounding board or a listening ear for them as well. And they also conduct 2 mentoring cycles with this educator. So they'll engage in a pre-observation conference. They'll come in and observe, looking for something in particular, and then they'll give them feedback in the spirit of growth. Another form of support that we provide for the induction educators comes through our educator effectiveness coach, Jessica Calloway. And we're very fortunate to have an ed effectiveness coach who actually goes out and she meets with and conducts coaching cycles with each of these educators every year. So that's also a good support. And she helps to host our educator ed camp, which is a professional learning opportunity that we provide for all of our induction educators. We've got another source of support through our administrators in our buildings. They operate by giving feedback through a pre-observation, an observation, and then a post-observation conference. Once during the fall semester, and then during the spring semester, they do an unannounced observation and give feedback for growth. Our next group are our annual summative educators. Now this group is extremely important because in South Carolina, the results of this evaluation process are the results that determine your contract level and your certificate type moving forward. So this is kind of high stakes. So for that reason, this group of teachers have 2 people on their team. They have a peer evaluator who is trained and certified to come in and to conduct observations and to give feedback. And they have their administrator who also does the same. In addition to their observations, they also engage in student growth goals, setting student growth goals through the SLO process, which is a course-long plan to talk about how they're going to support students in growing and meeting certain goals. They engage in conferences with their administrators, so that way they're being coached on their progress towards those goals. And then they also couple that with a professional growth goal, where they are looking at ways to grow professionally so that they can support that student growth.
What's the criteria that puts someone in this category?
So typically they have to be hired and employed under an annual contract. So typically that's someone with anywhere from 2 to 5 years experience, and then they engage in the summative evaluation process. Next, we have our continuing formative educators. We've got about 164 of those folks. These are our teachers who have experience, but every 5 years they go through the certificate renewal cycle. And part of that cycle and process is to be able to provide them with some feedback for growth on their practice. So that's extremely important. This is the group of educators that we really want to make sure that we continue to pour into throughout their careers. So they have their administrator conduct a pre-observation conference, an observation, and then a post-observation conference. And they also set that student growth goal and couple that with a professional learning goal. One of the most important parts of this process, however, is the actual certificate renewal process. Here is where that educator provides documentation of at least 120 renewal credits. They earn renewal credits through professional growth and development opportunities. So our teachers are continually engaging in professional growth and professional growth opportunities throughout their career. And this is where they are able to provide that documentation for such. And then finally, this is our biggest group of educators, our goals-based folks. Educators write a professional goal either based on their professional practice, or if they are a classroom-based teacher, they set a goal based on their students' growth. And their administrator is there to serve as a coach and a support for them through the goal-setting process. So these are basically the 4 buckets of groups of educators that we have and we support through our office every year. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about some of the support that we provide educators to help continue and foster that professional growth.
One thing our office likes to do is highlight and spotlight tip-top teaching we have going on within our district. The best way to learn most of the time is from your peers, and so one of the newsletters we send out is the second one, a highlight from our current Teacher of the Year, Laura Merck. She gave a tip for the other educators in our district of Google Translate, a tool that teachers could use to help them communicate more effectively with parents if needed. We like to build the capacity of our educators by sharing resources and instructional strategies that promote equity through instruction. So during different times of the year, we provide newsletters that highlight different practices and strategies that teachers could implement, or tips regarding Hispanic Heritage Month, Women's History Month, so different cultural components that we like to pull into the classroom and provide teachers with those resources in an ever-changing classroom. As we know, sometimes when we go to school to become a teacher, we're not always given the most up-to-date information depending on when we went to school. So through our office, we like to provide extra support in that way for our educators.
And then finally, we also like to provide support for our educators through book studies. And we maintain our district's professional learning library, where we have a number of different print resources that educators can check out whenever they want to, that are there to provide that support and foundation for their instructional strategies. And then we're also fortunate that we have somewhat of a partnership with Dr. Morgan Lee, who has come in and worked with some of our teachers last year and is planning to come in this year to work with our teachers on how to set up classroom environments where all students feel welcomed and seen. So those are just, again, some of the other ways that we help support our educators in the district to grow professionally. And so with that, we'll conclude. We open it up if you have any questions. If not, please feel free. Our contact information is up on the board.
Jennifer, that's not a misprint. She got married, so we've got you listed as your previous name on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
We know who you are.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm just curious, the 5-year contract renewal obviously has to go to the state.
Yes.
Does documentation on all levels go to the state, or is it just for the certificates?
So evaluation documentation goes to the state for all educators. As far as certificate renewal, just those educators who are in that group, the continuing formative group, we submit that, we enter it into the state's portal, and then we actually renew their certificate here at the district.
Okay. Because I'm sure there's a lot of formal documentation that goes along with, in addition to the good quality interaction that's happening with the mentors and the peer coaches and the administrators and everything else. I
Absolutely.
was afraid that there might actually be a lot of paperwork that goes along with it too.
Yeah, we do that too. Great, thank you all.
I have a quick question. So the certification process for the mentor, is that different, or are you using mentors to then become evaluators for? Is it part of the same training process?
No, it's totally separate training. There is a 2-day mentor training that is a South Carolina-based training. Those mentors are trained to go in and support beginning teachers. They look at the different ways the teachers come into the profession and the best ways to support those folks and how to execute and carry out mentoring cycles. The evaluator training is totally different. Although our evaluation model is based on a coaching model, that is a 3-day training where the educators dig deeply into our South Carolina teaching standards rubric, and they look at ways to collect evidence to help support teachers through their evaluation.
Well, you both did a great job. I think as a board, we oftentimes, we talk a lot about teacher recruitment and retention, and this group right here is so critical to teacher retention. So I'm glad to see we're investing. We've got a coach now as part of it, and look forward to seeing how else we can support you from a budgetary set of means in the future to continue with these goals. So great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have some new courses that Dr. Wakesness is going to review that we do need to approve, I believe.
Yes, good evening. I'm going to talk to you tonight about some new potential courses that we will have for our schools starting next year. Maybe. Oh, there we go. I know this is really small print, but in your packet you have a reminder of the process we use when we introduce new courses. We try to promote collaboration as much as possible during this process. So basically teachers start out and they have an idea, or an administrator, they want to introduce a course. So first they have to talk to it with teachers at their school from that department. Once they do that, they need to reach out to the applicable teachers at the other 2 high schools to see their thoughts on it, get their feelings on it. Once they do that, there's a new course packet that they have to fill out, and then they submit that to the department heads at each school. Once they look at it, if they give it a preliminary approval, they submit it to the assistant principal of instruction. The API, they discuss with the principals, and if it goes past the principals, then it comes to my office. And I work with the assistant principals of instruction, kind of fleshing it out, whatever else we may need to do. Then we send it over to the assistant superintendent of instruction, and then we are here in front of you asking for approval of these courses. So we have 6 new courses that we are, actually 5 new courses and a new opportunity that we are going to talk to you about tonight. The first one is Discrete Math. This will be a CP level course. This is a state-approved course that is taught all over the state. It would give, basically it would be geared towards students for a 4th-year math, their senior math, that maybe aren't quite ready for probability and statistics. So this would give them an option that is approved by the NCAA. It counts as a math credit. It's just a different opportunity. When we were first talking about this and they brought up Discrete Math, I said, well, I guess I better go Google this because I'm not really sure what Discrete Math means. I know it is a approved course, so that's a good thing. But basically, it is in my elementary understanding of it, it's a mixture of algebra, geometry, statistics. It is kind of like an accounting business course where it looks at being able to interpret graphs, read graphs, number sequences. But I think probably out of those 3, the most heavily focused part is probability and statistics. So it is a full course. It'll be a semester-long course, but it's a full credit. It'll be mostly for our students that, like I said, aren't quite ready for probability and statistics as seniors. The second course is a continuation of a course that we already have. Our Teacher Cadet course is a dual credit course through Winthrop. And right now we've been doing that for multiple years. It's Experiencing Education. And the second course is a new opportunity for our students. It'll be dual credit through Winthrop again, Educational Psychology. That's kind of the foundational course that you take in college if you are wanting to become a teacher. So that'll give them a good head start on that. The next course is Ceramics 3. We have Ceramics 1, Ceramics 2. Our students do great work. I was just at Nation Forward earlier today, and I noticed they have a table of work that their students did right in the office. Just a small project, but the work they do is phenomenal. So this would give our students that are interested in ceramics another opportunity to continue their craft. There are two more courses and an opportunity that deal with career and technology education, and Victoria is going to come up and join me and talk about those courses.
Okay, I'm super excited about these 3 courses. This first course is actually, Marty informed me that it actually was in place years and years ago. So we're just reintroducing this, I guess, but it's definitely not been around for a while. So that's Equine Science. It's part of the Plant and Animal Completer program. So it's definitely going to be popular, I'm sure. Students are actually going to have the opportunity to learn about equine care, definitely something for someone who's interested in maybe possible veterinary care. It would be a great course for them. And just looking at all the possible industries that they could get into working with horses. So phenomenal, exciting course. That's the first one. The next one, okay, I'm excited about all of them, I'm sorry. This course is great because it's for middle school students. It's an introduction to career clusters, so they're gonna get to experience a little bit of career opportunities and possibilities for themselves. They'll be able to kind of see what all the different CTE tracks look like, and it'll help them to develop their IGPs. So it's a great opportunity to give them a little more exposure in middle school to get an idea of what they might be interested in the future. So I'm excited about that one. And then finally, super excited about this one. Sorry, I can't help it. So Health Science 4 is not a new course. We've had Health Science 4 for years, and currently we have 2 tracks. One is just doing a clinical rotation where they visit a variety of different places to see what they might be interested in. The second track is Farm Tech, which we already have. So they're getting a certification credential in pharmacy technology that they can take into the industry directly from graduating. And this one is now going to be the CNA track. So they will be actually experiencing clinical rotation within developing their skills within a learning long-term care facility. So they are going to be out, and by the time they are done, they are actually leaving, should they pass the certification, as a certified nursing assistant. So super exciting. That's all I got.
I have a quick question.
Questions?
So,
I have questions too.
the introduction to career clusters, that's an amazing idea. Is that going to be considered like an elective or a 9 weeks course?
Yes.
And if so, will every student have the opportunity? Because I know right now, not all students maybe would have art because of the way the schedule's,
It definitely will be a scheduling thing that we're going to have to look at. We'll probably start piloting it this year coming up to see how it works out, and then hopefully it'll expand and we can hopefully reach everyone. But initially, no, it probably won't be.
So it will not be like, it won't be like High School 101 where it's required for every 8th grader to take it, but it will be an elective like Spanish and art
Correct.
and band and everything
It's going to be
else.
part of related arts.
Okay.
To start. Who knows what it'll turn into.
I'd love to see this turn into something that every student can have, but it's tough on a middle school level when you have PE for 2 9 weeks periods, and then you have chorus or band for 4 9 weeks periods. That only gives them 2 options. So
yeah,
maybe you wrap that into your 7th grade to make sure everybody gets it. But this is a phenomenal idea, and I think this will help those students transition from middle school to high school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited about it. Any other questions?
I have other questions.
Okay.
I want to add something real quick
Yeah.
about the CNA before we move off that. The initial plan would be for it to be offered at Nation Forward and Catawba Ridge. And then the farm tech would be at Fort Mill High School, but students would have access to any of the programs. Just like now, if a Fort Mill High School student wants auto mechanics, they get shuttled over to Nation Ford. So this would be the same setup, so we'll still be able to offer both programs.
All right, so that was actually going to be one of my questions.
All
Is for all of these, whether they're going to be at all high schools, and I would say this to some of our high school principals. I think it's important that our guidance counselors understand and support that situation. Firsthand knowledge that's not always easy for a student who attends one school that really wants a course that's not offered there to get it on their schedule. So I think that's really important to promote the opportunity so that it truly is equitable across the 3 schools.
I appreciate that feedback, yeah.
2 other questions. The ceramics 3. Have you thought about the fact that it's a CP level course instead of an honors? I worry that for the students as they're thinking about their GPA, especially when you get into 3rd levels of things, will that deter people from taking it with it being a CP level versus an honors as you get into more? I
Right.
don't know about some of the other equivalents to that, if they're all CP at level 3 as well.
So yes, that's always a dilemma when we introduce new courses. Most of the elective courses are honors at the 4th level,
Okay.
not the 3rd level. So that's why we introduced Ceramics 3 as a CP course.
Okay, as long as that's consistent with others, because, like I said, after you've invested a lot in it.
Right,
at that point.
certainly.
Last question, back to the CNA. So you said you will, assuming you pass, get a certificate. What are the next steps for someone after receiving a CNA in the medical field? Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a multiple tracks. They could just become a CNA and enjoy that for years. Leave here and get a job and be making $30,000+ a year, which is a great way to graduate from high school. They can take that and go to York Tech and continue their studies to maybe become a full RN. They could take that to Clemson or anywhere else and use that to have the clinical backgrounds that they could go into a nursing program, a medical program, whatever they may choose.
So the certification doesn't necessarily track to anything beyond it, but the skills that they would receive does.
Exactly.
To an RN or a CNRA or CRNA or whichever.
Right. So they would have the base to move on from there.
Excellent.
It's really exciting. Any other questions?
All right.
All right, so we would like to ask for approval of the new courses presented this evening.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for the 5 new courses and the 1 middle school, I don't remember where we're. Yeah, there we go. Introduction, there it is.
Yeah.
Introduction to career clusters.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the administrative recommendation for 5 new courses at the high school level and a middle school introduction to career clusters. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Thank you. There is another chance that we will be back to talk about some dual credit opportunities. We're still working with the institutions on those opportunities.
I should have asked this. Is this effective for next year?
Yes, next school year.
Next school year?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I got to turn the page. Superintendent's report. You're up for your updates.
My time. Okay, let's begin with calendar of events, and you see the normal meetings, the school board meeting tonight. You don't see a meeting on November 16th, and I'll explain that in a minute. The principal's meeting, and then the Thanksgiving holidays, of course, everybody looks forward to that on the 24th through the 26th. In December, you get into the school board's legislative advocacy conference in Charleston, and then the school board meeting on the 7th, and we typically do not have a work session or a second meeting in December or July, so you don't see another meeting scheduled there. Of course, the 21st, half day for students before the end of the term, then the winter holiday. And we didn't put it on there, but we'll put it on next week, next month's meeting. The January meeting, I believe, is on the 5th, 1/5, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
because
believe
of the-
instead of a
Because
Tuesday.
of the workday. Yeah.
Yeah, because of everything playing in, so go ahead and looking ahead. I need for you to make a couple of adjustments to your calendars, however. We need to adjust 2 meetings. The June 14th meeting, we need to move it up a week to June the 7th, so if you'll go ahead and make that, that notation. I believe that's the night we approve the budget, right, Leanne? So there's one move, and then the November 16th meeting, we have canceled because of scheduling conflicts with several staff and board members. So those are the two that I wish you would go ahead and make note on in your calendars. Any other dates that I'm missing?
So on the 10th, for the board, there's a legislative preview, I don't know what to call it, conference, virtual conference.
That should be before the legislative.
November the 10th.
Oh.
November the 10th.
Never mind.
If I said December, I misspoke. November the
might
10th,
have
which
said
is,
November and
which
I'm
is,
thinking
again, to your
December.
point, a preview before the
before
December
the legislative,
conference.
yeah.
It's a virtual session. And then I know all the schools are having lots of holiday events for their students.
Well, if we listed all those, we'd be here another hour.
Exactly. I was gonna say, so just, I hope everybody will take the opportunity to go see some of the amazing things that our kids are doing and celebrating the holidays, which, you said it, but just to reemphasize, does coincide with the first semester break this year. So we will in fact complete the first semester before heading out for the holidays, and we're very excited about that.
Yes.
Don't forget about Cognia. I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
if Marty McGinn were here tonight, she would be telling us. Oh, there she is. She's right there. You're usually up here.
I do apologize for leaving that out. We practiced today. We had a meeting of about an hour and a half where we went through the formal presentation. It is next Monday, November 8th through Wednesday, the 10th. That's all we've been occupied with for probably the last 2 weeks solid. Marty for a lot longer than that, but and the board. And so I should have mentioned that, and I failed to. So right.
I got mine double because I require that.
So yeah, that was a biggie to leave out. You're right, Scott. I'm sorry. Other dates. Other than a school event that you would want to brag about, which we don't want you to do, anything that we missed at the school level that, okay, good, I won't give them much time to think. They'll invite you to all their concerts. And,
Right, for sure.
okay, that's all I have there, unless you have some others. Enrollment, as usual, grew by 10 students. You say, well, that's not much, but when you do 10 times 9 months, it adds up during the year. And we'll get another bump after the first term and so forth and so on. And then a lot of people there at the end wanting to move before the year's over and get started in the new schools. So went from 17,855 to 17,865. So questions about that? Then the attendance, let me find my.
And it will look weird after the holiday, because I don't know how many students we have graduating, but I assume we've got some graduating early.
We'll dip down
Right.
some 100 or so kids, you're right, yeah. But that means they were here and we had to plan for them. The monthly attendance winners for, at the high school level, Catawba Ridge with 93.57. The middle school level, oh, did I say it wrong?
Yes.
Oh, I'm reading my cheat sheet that Pat gave me. Let me see. Let me look back. Did I say it wrong? Nation Ford. Can I not read numbers? Nation. Okay, I'll try to.
Well, Catawba Ridge was August, but Nation Ford is October.
Well.
So.
2 months in a row.
That's right.
Well, do we have attendance rate for Pleasant Knoll Middle at 94.23, or is that?
That is
That's
accurate.
correct.
Oh, good. Okay. And Sugar Creek Elementary, the big winner, with 96.48. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
All
Just
good.
the one.
I got it right that time.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any questions then about
But
that?
congratulations to everybody
Yeah, yeah.
being at
That's right.
90-something%, right?
That's
That is
amazing. That's
amazing.
amazing.
Very good.
You know, I was looking back over the last 3 years, and that number is about the same. COVID, not COVID, virtual, not virtual, mask, not mask.
It is about the same.
Whatever. So that's a testament to our staff, how much they love their kids, how important they feel it is to be in front of them face to face, and that they're there every day helping.
In fact, we did the rate today as part of the program for teachers was like 95 point something for the whole year. So you're right. I mean, it's amazing. They come back. Questions? I think we're ready for the next executive session, I believe.
Yeah, so we are in need of a continuation of our executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to move into second executive session to discuss legal issues and contractual issues.
Motion to go into second executive session.
All right, then we are back in executive session, and thanks everybody for joining the open part.